actually one ruler, but I will get to that. I put it in the heading. She is going to go over the 6-inch log cabin ruler, which I know I posted this morning under the Aurora Sewing Center, what do you call it, site, Facebook page. If you want to follow along, she gave you some instructions or things to grab. So if you want to make a one block with her, you can do that. If you have the ruler. If not, guess what? I have the rulers to sell. Look at that. So she's going to go over that, and she's going to go over some tips and tricks of making your log cabin square flawless. We'll use the word easy. So I'm going to turn the camera off of me today and flip it on over to Eileen. So enjoy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm back. Hooray, hooray. I am going to talk to you about the 6-inch log cabin trim tool. This is what it looks like so. It's just square. And I'm going to show you how to use the markings on here. I want to show you a few things that you can make with this ruler. I made this quilt here. We did with this ruler. It was a class I taught last year. These blocks we made into 8-inch log cabin square blocks using the 6-inch tool. So that is possible. You can do that. So here's this wonderful quilt. A lot of the ladies that made it really enjoyed it and ended up with some beautiful quilts. Now, if I move over here, I have a pillow that is another class that I taught with the same ruler. And these are made with 6-inch squares. And it just depends on how you turn the square to get your pattern. And I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. Today I made this sample for you. This is a wall hanging or a table topper, and I really like it because it's kind of springy and cheerful, and I don't know about you, but I have needed to get back into some creative sewing, and this began to turn me on as I did it, so I thought I would share this with you, and then I'm going to show you how you could do a placemat if you want. They aren't fast, but it does mean that you could put something like that together and make your tables look really pretty for the summertime. Okay, so now I'm going to move over here. I put out on Facebook just a little, on our behind the scenes site just a little while ago, what rulers you have on your table. One of the rulers that I keep on my table all the time, and I'm going to advertise it because it's a cool little ruler, is the one that's 4.5 by 8.5. And I don't think we have any, but I'm sure you can order them. It's a Creative Grids ruler. And this is nice when you're working on your squares to have this as a backup. Now, the other rulers I use are my Stripology rulers. This is the Stripology squared ruler. And this is the big ruler. Now, what would I use them for when I'm making log cabin squares? I use these to cut my 1.5-inch strips, unless I am an AccuQuilt person. And if I'm an AccuQuilt person, then I use my 1.5-inch strip die, which looks like so. And I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strips at a time. And if you take width of fabric and you put 3 different colors on, then you're getting a whole lot of strips. Okay? This is also real handy if you've got if you've saved some of your fabric in 2.5-inch strips, then take the 2.5-inch strips and put them on here and cut them into 1.5-inch strips. The beauty of it is they're straight. One of the problems with cutting 1.5-inch strips is that they can get kind of wonky, and you want to have them as straight as possible. So this is one of the dies that's just wonderful. I have used this book, Log Cabin Quilts, if you look in this book, you can see that there are different patterns for making pillows, like the pillow that I just showed you, okay? If you look back a little bit farther, then, and I had to, I put a thing in here, here it is. Here is the table topper that I just made, and it also shows you the placemat. Now you'll notice if you look carefully, if my hand isn't shaking too much, what they did in this pattern was they put a pocket from a pair of jeans on the placemat, and they put some little flowers in it, but the pocket's open so you could put silverware in it. And they put the pocket on the table topper as well. Here's my problem. Wait a minute, where is it? Here it is, right here in the middle. My problem was that pocket's supposed to be 4.5 inches in order to fit well on this size table topper. My pockets on my jeans, I must be a big fat lady because mine are all like 10 inches. I mean, they just are huge and they didn't fit. So I did something different, which you saw when you looked at my picture here. I took a flower from AccuQuilt and some petals and put that on there, and just stay right there, Alyssa.
Okay. We can order the book. We didn't have any in stock, but I do have a list, so please call the store and we'll order that for you.
This is the fun flower die, and so I put that in there, and then I took the Rose of Sharon and I cut my circles for the center from the Rose of Sharon die, and I also cut my petals from the other Rose of Sharon die. There are 2 Rose of Sharon dies. One is the bigger one. In case you're interested, this is 55382. That's the die. And this is the smaller Rose of Sharon die, and this is 55045. And the fun flower is 55334. If you have different dies like that, it's nice because you can be creative. And that's me. I've got to be creative. I can't just do the same thing all the time. Okay, so now, when we do a log cabin square, what I'm going to do is walk you through the process that I go through when I make one. We also need 2-inch squares, and I used this die that it has lines here, so it will cut 4 2-inch squares at a time. Or I can do 24 if I do 6 layers of fabric and get 24 2-inch squares. The best part of all is that they're all the same size. This particular die is inside the 6-inch cube. All right, it's 55702. You cannot order it separately. This is in the 6-inch cube. If you want to order one separately, then you need to order another die. And it is, I wrote it down. The 2-inch square die is 55022. That's 55022. Now the 2-inch square goes in the center of each one of these squares. That is 2 inches.
So our fabrics are different.
So if I use my little flannel board here, I want you to think in terms of that 2-inch square as being your house. All right, you gotta think creatively. I'm a visual learner, so this is my house, and the first thing we're going to do is put a roof on the house. Now, that yellow is 1.5 inch strip. All right, and so I'm going to show you now how we're going to do that. You may want to look at my colors.
Yep.
Here's my square. I chose a light blue. And then I've got different colors of blue and whites. You've got to be very careful that your colors don't get too heavy or you won't see the difference between the lights and the darks. And you want to make sure that your darks are really fairly dark. If you have medium colors, you're not going to see the pattern, the difference between blue and white in your design. So I took one of these squares, and what I did was I laid it on a strip. Okay? So what I did was I took my 1.5 inch strip and I put these right sides together on a strip. Now, the reason I've got two is I'm going to make 2 squares. If I want to make 4 squares at a time, you see, I can do it this way. And I've got my 4 on a longer strip. If I want to make 16 squares at a time, and I want them all to be the same, I can take a strip and put 16 squares on it and just sew it on. You got me? All right, so then the next thing I did was I took it to my ironing board and I have pressed it, and I want you to make sure that you press it so that the square is going away, it's out away from the square. I don't want it to be this way. It won't work. You've got to press your squares on your 1.5 inch strip so that they lay flat away from the square. And you'll notice on this one with the 4, I've done the same thing. They're all away from the square. Now, the next thing I'm going to do then, and you can stay focused right there, Alyssa. This is when I take my little ruler that's 4.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to cut this so that my square has a roof on it that fits, and it looks just like it did on the flannel board that I'm using, or the batting board. And you see, all of a sudden, this is great. I've got, those are my scraps, and here is my little house. Now, isn't that cool? Now, one of the things I want you to know is that when we look here, we are going to put our next strip on the left-hand side. This is like putting a wall on your house, all right? And here I'm going to take, this is like a breakaway. Every single log cabin pattern has a different way of building the block. Some of them will take this and put it over here and go around the block that way. But in this pattern that we're doing, in order to make the block correctly, we're going to go to the left. This is going to be a light color, and this is going to be a light color. These two are light colors, okay? So now I'm going to take those 2 that I just cut, and I am going to lay them on a 1.5 inch strip. And when this goes in the machine, I'm going to start stitching up here. So it looks like the fish is going upstream. The top of the roof is upstream. We're going to sew down there. So I'm sewing my 2 blocks that I just cut a minute ago. I just sewed them right on here. I take them to the ironing board, and guess what? I'm going to press them again so that they're away from the square. Now this time, when I cut, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Here are my squares. I am going to cut the bottom. And I'm going to move up here, and I'm going to cut the bottom so that it is even with the bottom of my house. Okay? This time, I'm going to take a dark colored square, a dark colored strip, and this is going to be a dark color. and I'm going to put it on the bottom of my house. So I started with my square, 2-inch square, I put on a roof, I put a wall here, and now we're putting a bottom, I don't know what the basement on the house. Okay, so that means I have to come up with a dark color that I'm going to put on here. And so I'm just going to grab one that I've got cut, and I am going to put these just like so. So it looks like this to you, and I am now going to start doing a little bit of sewing. See, I jump started us. So now I'm going to sew this on, and you see I'm doing 2 at a time. I am using a 1/4 inch seam. Now I'm going to give you a little tip. This is, what do you call these? File cards.
3x5 cards.
Yeah. I check my 1/4 inch seam by stitching on a line and making sure that the side of my foot follows the other line. And I double check that every time before I stitch, and I just did that a few minutes ago. And when I stitch, the outside of my foot follows along on that line. So if you've got a foot that's not a 1/4 inch, you can always move your needle so that the needle, when it stitches here, the outside edge of your foot will follow the line. And then you'll know you're getting a 1/4 inch, okay? So I am going to stitch my 1/4 inch, and I'm using dark colored thread so that you can see what I'm doing. And you see, if I lay this on my strip so that I have a little bit of fabric up here in front, I've got a little bit of a leader. And then here goes my second one. And then I put an ender in. That way I don't have to pull my, put my foot up and down all the time. I can just go as I want to. Now this is what it looks like, you see? This is the way yours will look. And you'll say, oh dear, what do I do? Well, we're gonna go to the ironing board, and we're gonna press these so that the square goes to the outside. Of course, I don't know if this iron is hot. We'll have to see here in a minute. You can use your finger if you need to crease it a little bit before you press it. Sometimes that helps.
Not hot.
Okay. And I often will spray it with my best press. This is plugged in.
It is now.
I think I must have hit it with my foot. I often will spray it with a little best press. If you don't have one of these bottles, they're awesome.
We just got some in, so we have not as cute as Eileen's, but we have some clear ones.
See, this is what happens if you drop it on the floor. Okay. There, now it's getting hot. I kicked it out of the thing here. And then I do turn it over, and I just press away on this side to make sure that that side's okay. All right, so now I'm going to go over here. And this time, when I trim, I'm only going to trim on the side of the house where I'm going to put my last strip. Just like so. So this is what they look like. Now I'm going to take another strip, and this time I'm going to, let's see if I've got enough here for the strip, if it'll fit. Sometimes they fit, and sometimes they don't. So I'm just going to take, let's just take a longer strip. I can show you what it looks like. Here I am. I'm going to cut this so that maybe it's a little bit shorter. And we'll just take and put these right on here so that they're, whoops, the other way, ready to go in my machine. And you see, if you're making a whole bunch of blocks and you want them all to be the same, you can go right down your 1.5 inch strip. So I come over here, and I'm putting another side of my house. This is what we're doing is called round one. This is round one. Okay, so now this time, because I cut it that way. All right, so when I come back over here, I'm going to quickly iron this. Let's crease it. And then press it. I'm going to spray it so it's got a little moisture on there. That best press is wonderful, ladies. And for those of you who don't know anything about it, instead of using spray starch like a lot of ladies used to use, best press is better because it doesn't attract those little silverfish. It's awful to open up your quilts and find out that they've been eaten by a bug. But they took that ingredient out of, they took that ingredient out so that the sugar, I think there's sugar in spray starch. You see how I'm just trimming that right off? Now look, doesn't that look strange? But this is what we just did. We just put, here's our roof. And we just did this. We just put, this is round one. This is what it looks like, okay? And we just put it aside on our house. Now this looks a little wonky, you're gonna say. Well now, this is where we're going to use our ruler. You're going to turn this over. And if you can see it, hopefully you can, on the ruler it says round one, and there's a square. And that square you're going to put on top of your 1/4 inch stitching. And then we are going to trim it. And of course I'm doing this sort of so you can see. I'm going to have to turn it this way. And I'm going to trim here. Then I'm just going to, now if you have a round
rotating mat.
Yeah, that rotates, that's real handy. Or sometimes I do it on the corner of my cutting table, and then I can do it all at one time. But look at, ready? The great reveal. See how cute that is? That's what I call a huggable little square. So here, I'll show you again. If you didn't get it the first time, you get to see me do it the second time. Like I said, I'm very visual, so. But you see, this is kind of wonky, isn't it? But when you get it all trimmed off, it gives you some wiggle room. You've got 2 squares, okay? Now, we are gonna do round 2 next. And if I can show you this on top of some navy blue. Round 2, it says round 2 here in black, which you can see if I put it on white. But if you look at the actual square, the next round is a white square, okay? Just so you understand that. So the first round is round 1. Round 2 will be white. So we're gonna do this. I hope you don't mind sewing along with me. Sometimes it's kind of fun. I like to take different fabrics. Let's see if I've got enough of this. We are going to put another roof on the top of our house. You always start at the top of your house. So now we're going to put another color on. I'm going to take that light blue. I'm going to take this roof on my house. I'm going to put it on here like so, and I'm going to quickly stitch it.
Pauline Williams, we do have some of the log cabin rulers.
Oh, they're absolutely fun to use.
They are $23.99. I know people are asking questions. I don't want to talk and interrupt, and
Perfectly
then
all right, if they have a question,
Okay.
ask away.
and then I can't type because I'm holding the camera, and I'm down some hands today. So sorry, but we will get to your questions. I can at the end we'll have a Q&A for a little bit.
Okay, so here I am. This is what it looks like. Am I going to press that out again? You betcha. You betcha. I'm gonna go right over here. I'm gonna put a little of this on here and press it.
I'll do my sales pitch. We have the spray bottles. We have Best Press. We have irons still. We have the little cutters, the 28 millimeter rotary cutters. We have the log cabin ruler. We can order the book. I have to order the ruler that Eileen has in her hand right now. But we have access to whatever we need, ladies, or whatever you need.
Now, this is something to put in your notes. Whenever you put the roof on your block, you're going to cut off both sides. And the reason is that you're going to be sewing a strip on both sides. So now I'm going to take another light color. How about, let's take some flowers here. Here I go. I'm going to put it on here. And you see how it begins to move along faster? And I'm walking you through this so that you can see that it doesn't take all that long.
So I have a question, Eileen, and I know you'll have the perfect answer. What is special about the log cabin ruler?
It takes very wonky squares and makes them into very square, flat squares.
So for you, when you're doing the log cabin, you're getting
Yes, if you
the right sizing of this
right.
log cabin
if
square.
you don't resize your square, you're going to end up with a lot of squares that aren't square. And when you try and put the quilt together or the pillow together, you're going to wonder why it doesn't work.
So
And
it straightens everything up.
Yes, so that when you get them all finished, you're going to end up with a beautiful project because everything wants to go together. And then the process is the same thing. I'm going to go here, I'm going to spray it, I'm going to press this out. I'm going to flip it over and double check on this side.
I'm gonna just jump in real quick. If you guys want any of the items that we're showing today, I'd ask for you to email us or also call the store when we're done recording. We do have the East Aurora store ringers off, so I can do this class. So please just call the East Aurora store or the Williamsville store. Williamsville, you're gonna have to explain a little bit more what you're looking for. I did go over it with Scott today, but he doesn't always listen. So Eileen laughed at me. But please call or email us your order. It's a lot easier so we don't make mistakes. Question, can you use the Stripology square ruler to square the blocks?
You can,
Okay.
but
It doesn't square up your log cabin?
I don't think that you will find that if you put it, for example, on the 2-inch square, and I don't think you'll find that it's as easy to do with that one. I guess I would discourage you from doing that.
It's better for strips. The
It's better
Stripology
for
was
cutting
studying
the
strips.
Yeah, when you get all done, you could put it on there and square it up so that it's your 6-inch block, but you want to square you want to square it as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Am I making sense?
Yeah,
when
I
say
understand and listen. You know
Okay.
how that goes.
All right, so I just cut this, ladies, and notice I left this tail here. That's okay because I'm not going to put another piece on here before I square it all off. In other words, just leave that tail. It saves you a little time. Just cut it on the bottom because now I'm going to go down here and we're going to put that strange looking blue piece on. And I'm just going to put that on like so. And you see my blocks are gradually getting bigger.
So we have a question, but when you're done,
Yep, that's
the-
all right.
they're asking, the one person said, I get confused with when I put a light in the dark.
All right.
So I'm following what you did, so
Here,
that's
take
what,
a
oh,
picture
look
of
at this,
that.
look at this. Here's your template, guys.
And here is
Number 1, light.
round 2.
Number 2, light. Number 3 is a dark. Number 4 is a dark. Then you're going to rotate again. Even I can follow this. This is great.
This is what I'm doing now.
Okay, this is what she's doing. So number 5 is light. Number 6 is light. I got to move my camera. Number 7 is dark. Number 8 is dark. And to my understanding, it doesn't matter what color you start your 2-inch square with. You could do light or dark. That's
Yes. you
your
can have
choice.
Anything you want.
whatever tickles your fancy. So there's your little template. So this is round 1. And this is round 2.
This is round 2.
I'm laughing because I think I know what I'm talking about, but I'm just, I'm understanding Eileen. I'm learning.
Hooray!
I know, this is exciting.
What's fun is you begin to see it come along. Darn thing keeps coming out. Okay, so can I move these?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
I hope someone took a screenshot of that so you,
Well, we can do it again at the end if you want to. Okay, so here I just put, here's my roof. Light, 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 dark. I just did another dark. Now, I'm going to leave this tail here. And I'm going to cut it even on that side because I'm going to put another strip there in just a minute. And so I'm going to do this here.
because that's the side you're going to go work
'Cause
on.
that's the side I'm going to work on next. And so now, I happen this time to have some pieces from a quilt I worked on that are odds and ends. Okay, so I'm just going to sew these on separate. I'm not going to worry about putting it on my 1.5 inch strip. So the reason I'm showing you this is because then I can show you how to use the gizmo. I'm just gonna sew right down that. And here's my next one. I will put it right up here. Yeah, if you're confused at any point, just say so and I'll see if I can clear it up, because you can get confused on these unless you really focus on what you're doing.
What is the size of a finished block?
6 inches.
The 6-inch ruler log cabin. So 6 inches is
Now,
your finished block.
Can you make an 8 inch? Yes, you can. You just have to, well, there's a little trick to it, but you can do it.
Okay.
Okay, so see this gizmo? Say I was making a whole lot of blocks, and then I just go like this, and it cuts it in half where the thread is.
So you don't have to use scissors.
You don't have to use
I'm going to zoom in on that, guys, so you can see.
That's great.
It's got a little, oops, sorry.
There's
It's got a
box over
little
here.
little razor there, and you just slide your threads right over it and cut it. See the visual on
And
the
then
box?
this little slot here on the side, that's a place where you can replace the razor if it gets dull. I don't know if any of you realize that, but
No,
yep.
that's awesome.
Okay, so I'm gonna quick press these. And then guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna trim round 2. Can you see how nice and square it's coming? Okay, so here's what it looks like. I'm gonna flip these over. Whoops, wrong ruler. Here we go. So I showed you before round 2, and round 2 is white, and it says round 2. So I'm gonna take round 2, I'm gonna put it here on my ruler, right on top. I mean, put it on my ruler, put it on my project, right where the stitching is. You see here, is my stitching, and I've ironed everything out so that I can lay my ruler on. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they lay this ruler on the front side of the block. If you do it on the front side of the block, your block is not going to come out 6 inches. I am going to have to turn this around here so that I can cut it.
Thanks, Jackie. So Jackie Diamond just informed me they also have an 8-inch and larger log cabin rulers.
Yes, they do.
And guess what? I can get those in for you if you want one. So if you do, just let me know. Place an order through our email or call, and we'll get them for you. I don't know the price.
As long as they have these rounds on them.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to end up with a ruler you won't
Look
know
how
how to
beautiful
use.
that is, and I love the blues. I love the blues.
Yes, I know some of my ladies who are blue and white people, so when I saw that project, I thought, oh, they might have some scraps at home that they could pull out and do something like this with and just feel creative.
Cindy, we do not have rotary mats. We sold out of them, and they are on back order from the distributor. We do have an order placed. I'm not sure when they're coming in.
See?
Look how beautiful that is.
Now, we're going to do our last round, and then we'll be all done. And what is it taking us? Not that long. Now, I usually try to play with about 6 different fabrics. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So I look at my square when I'm going to go put my next roof on. See, there's one roof, there's a roof, my next roof on. I've got to put a different color in there. So, since I've got a little of this blue over on this side, I don't know if you can tell it, I think I'm going to put some of that on there. That should look all right. So I'm just going to flop this over and sew it on, and then I'll do the same on this one. And remember, I'm putting the roof on the house again. This is the 3rd roof. We are now doing the 3rd round, and the 3rd round is your last round for a 6-inch square. So if you get to the point where you put your block upside down and you say, oh my God, I don't remember where I'm putting it, look for your roof and put the roof on the house. There we go. Not hard. I'm just gonna, whoops, I forget that this foot doesn't go, wait a minute. That the foot goes up. I'm used to one that
It automatically does it.
automatically goes up. I'm so spoiled. Okay, back to the ironing board. Anything else you want to talk about for a minute?
What I am going to say is this video will stay on our Facebook page, so you can watch it again. And we are working, and I know one of my marketing people are on here answering. We're hoping to get them on the on our YouTube channel.
Oh, that's
So bear with us. She is working on that for days. So eventually this will be on our YouTube channel.
now, because this is the roof of the house, remember, I'm going to trim on both sides. I'm going to trim on this side. And I'm also going to trim this tail off. And this is the only time that you have to trim on both sides. All the other times, all you have to do is trim off on the side where you're going to sew the next strip. And I'll review that again when we do it. So now I'm going to put another white on. I've got this blue and white. I don't need all of that.
But everybody remember, our videos for these classes that we've been doing are always on our Facebook page. If you go to videos and then look for the date or what you're looking for, I've been trying to put the titles in there so you can always go back and look. They don't go away. If you're having a hard time finding them, that is a Facebook goofiness.
So that's that means like the pillowcase class and the piecing class.
They're all still on. Yep, they're still on Facebook. Yep. I have directed many people to go back on there and watch it.
I had so much fun doing that showcase class. That was cool. Okay, now, where do I want to put it? Do I want to put it here on top of here? No way, because I'm not doing the roof. I want to do, here's 3 layers. Here I've got 2 layers, so I know that the 3rd layer is going on now. There we go. Oops, I cut it. I wanted to cut it. So I'm going to just snip this off here, go back to the ironing board, and again, I'm going to press those out. And you know, I probably don't need to show you all this, but even when I teach it in a class where you're in the room, a lot of us forget to press things out. So this way, by repetition, maybe you're going to remember to do that. Okay, so now this time, I know I'm going to put the next layer on this side, because here's 1, 2, I just did 1, 2, 3, so it's going to go here. So because it's going to go there, I'm going to cut here. That means it's all ready to receive the next strip. I don't have to cut on the other side because
you're going to square it
cut
up.
that off when I square it up. So let's take, here I've got this blue. Oh, it looks like I've got a couple short ones. No, let's just do the long one.
Annette Berg, I love what you just said. Finally, this non-quilter understands the theory of a log cabin. Thanks, Eileen.
Hallelujah. She needs to explain to me what the theory of the log cabin is. But yes, if you think in terms of this as a house or a cabin and how you are building it, then it does kind of make sense. Now you're going to say, I'll bet you never make mistakes on this. Are you kidding me? If I'm not focusing on what I'm doing, sometimes I sew things on the wrong side and then I have to rip them out. For that reason, I often will sew mine on with a little tiny bit longer stitch. Instead of 2.5, I'll set my stitch length to 3 because it rips out easier. Why not, you know? I got it? Yeah. Okay, so look at how it's growing. We are growing. I'll tell you what, with all the goodies I've been eating while I've been home, I think I'm growing. And I don't know about you ladies, but I'm getting tired about being home. I want to be here with you guys. And I'm really wanting to be creative. I don't mind making masks because I know there's been a need for them, but I'm tired of doing it. So, and I guess I would say to all of you as I'm making this, be really careful you don't make so many masks that you don't ever want to sew again, because that would be a tragedy. It wouldn't be just a tragedy for you, but it would be a tragedy for us here at the store, because we want you involved with us. Okay, look at this. There we go. I've got one more to sew on. You see, I cut it even here. Can you see now why when we do the roof that we cut both sides? Because I need that trimmed off when I sew this piece on. Does that make sense? I hope so. Now I've got one more color here. Oh, this is a long one. One of the things you're discovering, ladies, is that I save a lot of my scraps in 1.5-inch strips, so that when I want to do a project like this, it's cool. I can just go to the drawer and I can pick out the colors I want. There, can you see that? Now I'm going to take it and sew it. This is our last strip for this block.
Mary DeGrave, our ironing board surface is something that, if I'm not mistaken, Scott made. It's like a cover over our metal ironing board So like 2x4s or something. I don't even know. But yeah, it's a really large area to iron on. It's wonderful.
I have one for sale at home if
Oh.
anybody's interested.
See, look at that.
My husband just made me a new one, so I've got the one that I used before. It's very handy. Look at that. Okay. And here we go. We go back over, back to the ironing board.
Either one.
I'm gonna spray it again. And then we are gonna square it up using round 3 on the ruler. You see, everything we're doing, I'm gonna say this again, you're squaring it up upside down. I'm just gonna snip this in the middle because it makes it a little easier. Now, if you look at the ruler, can you see round 3 is right here? It says round 3. And here is the square. I'm going to put it on my stitching. That's also a good check of whether or not your 1/4 of an inch is a correct stitch. I'm going to trim it. Then I'm going to turn this around. And I'm going to trim this again. Line it up. The best part of having this all nice and square and not using the Stripology ruler is that it will want to go together. And I'll show you what I mean. There's a square. Now, if I quickly do this one, and then I'm going to show you something else about this ruler. But first of all, look at this. Are these going to want to go together all right? Look at that. And you'll be able to match them up and sew them together. Just like I did on the placemat. If I take these, if you follow this over here, you see, I can take this and put it here. I can take it and put it here. And it puts your placemat together. Or I take these and you see I can turn them around. But you see how important it is to have your darks and your lights really contrast. If you've got too many things that are middle of the road, you're not going to see the pattern when you lay it out.
One of the questions I had was, will this ruler work for a lefty?
I don't think you have any problems with it. If you put this on here, say this is round 3, I should ask my sister, she's a left-handed. I think even though you just put it here, you're just going to cut this way. I mean, I'm turning it this way because I'm right-handed, but if you just stitch this way and then turn your block.
I was just going to say, as long as you're lining up the round to the right round, if you're cutting with your right or your left, shouldn't matter. It's just making sure that you lined up correctly.
Now, let's see if this will show up here. If you look at the ruler, there are different log cabins that you can build. This is what they call a log cabin pattern. And you'll notice here, when you look at the picture, that they're going to the right. That's fine. That's a traditional log cabin. But then you can't get the pattern that I made for you today. So mine goes the other way. Here is what they call a courthouse square, and it shows you how you would put your strips. Here is what you call a half log cabin, and that shows you how you would put your strips on. So there are other options for using the pattern. It is most important when you get your pattern and look in the book that you look at how the log cabin is built in order to get the design of the pattern that you want to make. It's like the pillow. In order to get this pattern, it's like what we did today. In order to get this pattern to go together the way it goes, you've got to have your roof and this one on the left, they're light colors, and then two darks. And then the next roof is light, and your side is light, and then two darks. And here is light, and then two darks. And that's my 6-inch square. It's just like what we did today. If you build it the other way, then when you turn your blocks, it won't make this design. So that's why I'm saying it's very important that when you find a pattern that you like, that you look in the book and you make sure, don't just assume that it's going to go together. Okay. All right, so here, when I look at my pattern, I can tell that the roof is light and they're going to the left and they're building around that way. In order to get some of these other patterns, however, this pattern here is another pillow. But in order to get that pattern, you're going to build your block like so. And there's a picture of it here. You see how they've taken, here's your square and your roof, but then they put a roof and a dark color, and then they put a roof and a dark color, and they just doing the roof and the dark color. In other words, if I turn it this way, there, here's my square, and they put a roof and a dark color. They didn't put anything on the other side. They just kept putting a roof and a dark color and a roof and a dark, and it makes that particular square so you can get that particular design. So that's, here this design here is another design altogether. And if you look for your cabin, turn it this way, here they put a roof on and a dark color. No, wait a minute, what did they do here? They did two roofs. They did a roof and a basement, and then a dark color and a dark color as walls. And they kept doing that, a roof and a light colored basement, and then they did two dark walls. And then another roof and a basement that are light colors, and then two dark walls. So every single pattern, you've got to focus first on how the log cabin is built. Okay, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, real important. Okay, what else do I have to tell you? I want you to remember your template here. I'll do this one more time. Here's round 1. Here's round 2. And then this is what it looks like when you do round 3. Okay, so now if you have a ruler, I just want to mention this, if you have a ruler like my little ruler here and it slides when you cut, remember to use this wonderful spray. It's called Grippy Nonstick Coating. And what you do is you just simply take it like so, spray it on the back, set your can down, and that's ready to put on my fabric, and it won't move. It's great. That spray is marvelous. Now, when I put my blocks together, say I want to sew them together like so, or maybe I'm going to, for this pattern, I'm doing it this way. When I put them like this and I line them up, I want you to know that this is a time when I use those classic, beautiful classic pins with the glass heads. They're very long, and I will either put them in here sidewards because they slide right in so nicely, or if I want to, if I'm trying to match up a seam, I'll put it in this way And the beauty of the classic heads is they're thin enough that I can very carefully stitch over them and it doesn't hurt my needle. Okay, so I just want to put a plug in for the classic pins because these are wonderful for putting it together. I don't use the heavier duty pins when I'm doing my log cabins. Let's see. Yeah, here's what one looks like. So, take about 6 dark colors and 6 light colors. Decide on what you want to put in the center. Doesn't matter, it can be dark or light. Get your 6-inch log cabin trim tool and have at it. Make as many squares as you can. You can make a quilt, or you can make a wall hanging, or you could make placemats. And I'm all ready to go home and make another placemat, so I have 2 placemats and not just one. So thank you. The other thing I will tell you is, on any ruler, whenever you get a new ruler, hang on to the black that goes with it, because there are a lot of times when you'll get a book and it won't tell you how to use the ruler, but this tells you how to use it. Just be careful, don't assume anything, because this one, for example, starts you out going to the right, and for the pattern we did today, we went to the left, okay? But it's still, it shows you how to do those 3 different styles that are listed here on the ruler. And with that, have a great time, ladies. Be really, really creative. And put some pictures up, because I love seeing what you do. All right, I love you.